I'm not your friend, Wheelie.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Sonny, you kissed my wife. Baby, my heart's on fire.
Only the minions finding this on clearance and getting it without consulting me would lead me to review this character again. Core Class Wheelie from the 1986 movie studio series. I have never hidden my general disdain for this character. Introduced, for lack of a better term, in the 1986 animated movie. He was a character with no backstory, no explanation, and one of the most annoying voice quirks of any Transformer ever made that I know of. Always speaking with an echoing, grating chirp, using rhymes which would make a nursery school poet sound smart. He literally burst in out of nowhere, took up with the Dinobots for no reason, and made no discernible contribution to the movie or to the plot. You could edit out every scene in the movie where he's visible and lose absolutely nothing in terms of the narrative. And oh, I wish they had. But they redid the figure again for the studio series line, so here's the box with its open front. I guess even the shoplifters didn't want to steal this one. Character art is on the side panel. Back panel with 33% product shot and 67% legal crapola. A close-up of Wheelie's smirking face on the other side. Now let's get him out of that box and get this over with. Out of box, Core Class 1986 Movie Studio Series Wheelie comes with his instruction booklet. Also a teeny tiny Energon slingshot weapon accessory. Or it could also be the flux capacitor. Wheelie's alt mode is a car. Sort of. It's got 4 wheels, a front and a back, but he was found on the world of the savage Sharkticons, of course, with no explanation of how he got there or what he had been doing for however long he was there. Like many of the 1986 movie's characters, they were tossed in abruptly, and the audience was just expected to care about them instantly because they were on screen. His car mode could be said to be Cybertronian, with smooth curves and a futuristic-y slant, but it looks like a Hot Wheels car, and indeed it has a similar size to the Hot Wheels line. The alt mode is pretty small, even smaller than you would normally see in a core-sized figure. The colors are orange and light orange, with a dark blue windshield and gray wheels. It's not a bad color scheme, though the size and colors make him look like a piece of orange candy. The front wheels spin pretty easily, but the back wheels are tabbed in and less prone to moving. But he has such a small amount of mass, you can still slide him around on flat surfaces without much trouble. He holds together well, though he rattles a bit. And the only hollowness is right underneath the back in this rounded section. But that section also doubles up as his weapon storage. This tiny port underneath this domed part is meant to house the slingshot accessory. Just plug and push it in if you can find sufficient leverage. Though it's a poor fit, and it falls out a lot. So be very careful because this dinky accessory can get lost very easily. A more secure means to pick it in is to use the robot hands, which the engineers didn't bother trying to hide at all. They're just sticking out of the back on either side. Comparing him to Power of the Prime's legend-size Wheelie, Core Class Studio Series Wheelie comes up short in more ways than one. Despite the fact that Studio Series Wheelie looks a bit smaller, they feel about the same in terms of the overall weight. To transform Core Class Wheelie to his robot mode, it's easiest first to untab the arms from the sides of the car. One of the main problems in transforming him to alt mode is that at least on this side of the car, the arm doesn't tab in very securely. It takes a lot of wiggling and wobbling to get it to hold in, otherwise it just pops loose, and you can see that they pull loose very easily. So when you find that sweet spot where they do tab in and hold, keep them there. Then use this hinge in the middle of the car to angle them out and fold until they are completely inverted. Take the domed section at the back and fold it up. Towards the front of the car, the upper and lower sections are tabbed together. It can be difficult to pry them apart, but persevere, and eventually the top will lift up from the bottom section. Once they are separated, you can unfold the pelvis section of the robot, then separate the robot legs. There's a hinge set near the inside of the pelvis, which allows the legs to fold outwards. Extend them until they are flush to the outer edge of the pelvis. Rotate and angle it up so that the dome section becomes his butt flap. Leaving the windshield section to become his back, rotate him forwards. Then these tabs in this section will peg into these grooves down here by folding the body in half. Fold it down part way, and before tabbing it in, unfold the rear windshield section and rotate Wheelie's head section out from the inside of the body. Close the windshield up again, then you can finish tabbing the front and back sections of the body together. Rotate the legs on these ball sockets so that the tires are pointing backwards and the kneecaps pointing forwards. Then fold up the robot feet, and the transformation is finished. I confess that in robot mode, Wheelie comes across as more compact, solid, and generally better than I expected. It's still Wheelie, of course, but the materials feel good. There's no soft rubber. There's still good variation with the colors, in varying shades of creamsicle, with some silver and gray tossed in. He has got the bucket head with non-functioning visor. It would actually have been kind of neat if they had made it so that you can close it and cover his face. He maintains a clean silhouette from the front, and the car bits hide nicely. The only glaring hollow parts are on the inner legs. And then there's this shovel on the back of his butt. They just didn't seem to know what to do with the canopy of the vehicle in this mode. You can still store the slingshot inside his butt scoop, or he can hold it in either hand to zap Grimlock on the nose, and then have Grimlock beat the tar out of him. For articulation, you can rotate Wheelie's head fully. It's ball-socketed and hinged so he can look backwards, and his head can even waggle just a little bit. The shoulders are ball-socketed for full rotation and splaying. Ditto for the elbows, though you do have to untab the elbow from the back of the arm to get it to rotate. There's no waist rotation, but the hips are ball-socketed so the legs will kick forwards and backwards until they hit the butt flap, and also rotate slightly. The knees are also ball-socketed so they will bend backwards all the way, and also rotate. The feet will tilt downwards, so you can get good range of motion from little core class Wheelie, but he could really have used a waist swivel. For size comparison, here is Core Studio Series 1986 movie Wheelie next to Power of the Prime's Legends class Wheelie and Studio Series Grimlock's Wheelie accessory. Ugh. Here is Core 86 movie Wheelie next to 1986 Studio Series Leader class Grimlock. And here is Studio Series 86 movie Core class Wheelie next to my fist. Unlike many other figures this past year, Wheelie actually did turn up on store shelves, though it didn't take them long to dump him on the clearance table next to all the unsold Buzz Lightyear figures. The clearance price started out as $11, which was bizarre, since that's the normal full retail price for a core figure. What, did they start him off at $15? If so, they were bound to be disappointed by the sales numbers, because Core Wheelie hardly seems like he is a $5 figure to me. Yes, the character has his fans, but I ain't one of them, so I can give him the panning he deserves. Positives are that the alt and robot modes seem nice and tight, with nothing being floppy or loose. It's a decent Generation 1 representation with bright colors. It comes with a weapon accessory that has a couple of options for storage. The transformation isn't too hard, and the difference between the alt and robot modes is still well pronounced. Negatives are that this has gotta be one of the smallest core size figures I've seen, and if you did pay full price for it, then you got snookered. It barely seems to have enough to him to qualify as a Micromaster, and they didn't make up for the tiny alt mode with a decently sized weapon accessory. Even the slingshot is too small. The arms have trouble tabbing to the back for the alt mode. The accessory doesn't store securely in the butt scoop, and many other core-sized figures have a waist swivel, so it's disappointing that Wheelie doesn't. Still, if Power of the Prime's legend-size figure Wheelie was too floppy and hollowed out for your taste, then you could swap to this one, which does hold together better, though it doesn't make up for the fact that it's still Wheelie. If you thought he was cute and endearing in the movie, then you may enjoy this figure. But if you wanted to stomp on the little nit every time he showed up on screen, then you'll want to steer clear of the Studio Series Core Wheelie remake, because unless you also find him on clearance, you'll be paying too much and getting too little. unless you want to include the huge amount of annoyance that comes bundled with him. I give Studio Series 1986 Core Wheelie 5 out of 10 deaths. Deaths a mediocre score today.
If you refuse me, honey, you lose me. Then you'll be left alone, oh baby, trouble. And tell me I'm your own.